So I thought I will start today with a couple of quick statistics. I teach 40 children at the moment, and of the 40 children, obviously about 8 parents roughly, and about 3 of whom are in a position to really help, really know about music. So, most parents don't really, know a huge amount, and that's not necessarily too much of a problem. But this will, enable you to help more than, if you haven't got the basics. So only about 5% really at present can really help their children with piano when I'm not there. Just a quick thing to say, don't worry if you don't get everything today. You can always ask me at the end of a lesson or email me if I, so that's fine as well. So don't be too concerned if I'm bombarding you with information. Just try and take a little bit, some of the information. I'm sure you will leave here with at least one idea or one piece of knowledge that you didn't come in with, and that's great. So, I thought I'd start by talking about me. This lovely angelic little boy here is me. This is me when I was about 9 years old. It's probably my first or second concert, and actually my last concert as a kid. I didn't play for long as a kid. I quit quite early on. I couldn't, I didn't get a huge amount of enjoyment as a child, and at the time my parents weren't musical, since my dad has gone on to grade 7 studying for grade 8 guitar now, but at the time both my parents, they couldn't really help me with music, so I was on my own. I didn't get a huge sense of enjoyment from it, and so sadly I quit. But obviously it didn't end there, otherwise I wouldn't be here now. So I started at 9, I quit at 10, I restarted 10 years later at 19, and at that point I just dropped out of my degree, so I knew I seriously had to work hard if I ever wanted to create a future for myself. I got my grade 8, about 3 years later I practiced solidly for sort of 2 hours a day, every day, sometimes even more than that, to be honest. And so that is how it kind of started for me. So for me, more than many teachers, I really don't want kids to quit piano. I really want to find a way through and hope that they don't have this big 10-year gap in the middle, so that by the time they get to 19, they'll surpass the level I'm at now, hopefully. That's my intention. So, that's enough about me. That's all I wanted to say about me, just so you know my background. Carrying on though, we've got to this point today. Either one of two things have happened. Either your child has heard someone else play piano, seen someone play piano and said, "Mum, Dad, please could I learn piano?" Or you've got one in the house and they've kind of always gone up to it and then you think, right, I better get some piano lessons. And this is not necessarily so wrong, as a parent you said, no, you're going to learn piano, my biggest regret is I didn't do piano, and you're going to learn, you're going to succeed. So either way, your child has now embarked upon their first piano lesson, which is where it all begins. Now, for me, the first lesson needs to have 3 key elements. This is down to me at the moment. I'm just sort of showing what I think I should do, or any teacher, really, that you take on in the future for your children. First lesson, really, this applies to all lessons, but they need to feel they've achieved something. So if at the end of the lesson, at the beginning, they could have, this is where they were at, hopefully at the end of the first lesson it'll be something like that, something along those lines. So at the end of the lesson, they've achieved something. Hopefully they've enjoyed it. Now I try to make it enjoyable. I do try to be quite animated. I do tell some silly childish jokes. Hopefully that's enough to get them enjoying the lesson and enjoy playing it as well. And also, when that first lesson's over, and hopefully sometimes beyond that point, there's a bit of anticipation. When's my next lesson? I mean, I still see a teacher and I genuinely look forward to my music lesson. I really do, because I know I get to practice, I know I get to improve. So hopefully there's always a sense of anticipation, that they're looking forward to the next lesson or mastering the next thing. Now, this comes on to where I want to help you guys now. So, where is middle C? I mean, a lot of you probably heard middle C. Some of you may know where middle C is on a piano, some of you may not. Now, this is a diagram obviously of a piano, and a C, I teach as find the 2 black notes and go down 1. Okay? So, C is here, okay? and we also have another one here. On a full-size piano, you don't need to be able to see it completely, but we've got a high C here, another C, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 8 C's on the piano, and the middle one is not exactly in the middle of the piano. It's one of the best questions kids always ask. Why isn't it in the middle of the piano? There you're up against your first challenge of piano. It is nearer to the low side, but it is the most central of all the C's on the piano. So it's the most central one. So you find the 2 most central black notes, and you go down 1 to the left. Okay. Now, so we've looked at middle C. The next key thing, which I introduced very early on and always refer to, and to be honest, you know, people in conservatoires learning music, they will write these finger numbers on certain tricky passages of the music that they play. I've got some of my music here. Let's find a piece with lots of numbers. I'll just sort of just show you here, like above all the music, it's very scrawly. This is my own personal copy, probably where I buy all the music in advance. Have a look, have a think, what do I think the best fingers will be to use? These are the numbers, and because when we play the piano, you can play, if I just remove this, you know, I can play C major with one finger, just sort of going like this, and a lot of children will do that to begin with, and they'll do that, but if they want to be able to play fast, you know, well, it's not efficient, and so we have to start thinking about the finger numbers. So, first quick little practical activity, if you just put your sheets, just leave them on your lap, so I just want us to hold our thumbs up as 1, okay, so it's symmetrical, these are both number 1. Next one, number 2, okay, if you can isolate the finger on its own, that's even better, because otherwise you've got 1 and 2. I really want you to be clear on that. That's finger 2. Next one, middle finger on both hands, is finger 3. It's quite tricky to do the next one because it is connected to your little finger, but finger 4, already you're getting some of the challenges of learning piano, getting certain fingers isolated. And then you've got finger 5, okay, on the outside. So you just try it once more. So 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. So now any time you see, if you were to look at your child's piece of music, whatever grade they're on, 1, 2, 3, 4 even, and they're playing a certain bit, and there's a number, let's say a number 5 above it. Let's say the first number's 5. You know that they're now supposed to start with their little finger. You may not know where at the moment, and even after today you may not know where, but you do know, if you look at that they're supposed to start with finger 5. And if they're starting with a different finger, then they're probably going to come unstuck, you know, quite soon on in the piece. So we've got middle C and finger numbers. This is exactly, you know, the kinds of things I teach in the first lessons, really. Now, this is the book I use, John Thompson's piano course. I picked this book just because it's colourful more than anything. I think it's got, you know, got nice images in for the young ones. So that's why I use this book. And the first piece I teach now, it tends to be my standard first lesson. Many of you may have heard me teach this to your children. Recently I can see a few of you that I know I've taught this to your children. Mary had a little lamb. So here we've got the numbers 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3. If you can read my writing, you get the rest of it. We're only using 3 fingers. So you get your thumb on middle C, which is number 1, and then you can play 3, 2, 1, 2. Now, just as another quick practical activity, we're just going to try and play this. If you put your left hand out, and we're just going to use fingers 3, 2, and 1. And I just want you to, I will play it out loud, and I will say each number. See if you can, on the palm of your hand, just do 3, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and we're going to try that just as a quick practical activity, starting with finger 3, middle finger. Ready? So 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. Then it goes to finger 2. Now over to finger 3. I'm watching. Good. I can see lots of people playing correctly. 3. Thumb. Excellent. 2, 2, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, brilliant. I can see lots of excellent musicians there. These are all new things to me. I haven't run an evening like this before. So it's interesting to see how it goes. Yeah, so you've just covered the first lesson really of piano. You've covered the first lesson. It's learning the finger numbers, learning where middle C is, and then combining those two things, putting your thumb on middle C and using the right finger numbers. Can anyone remind me where middle C is, please? Can anyone remind me? If you had to describe it, can anyone remind me?
It's not in the middle.
It's not in the middle, thank you. It's not directly in the middle, it's the nearest C to the middle. What are you going to... Pardon?
Two blacks.
Yeah, look for the two black notes, nearest to the middle. And which way are we going?
Left.
Yeah, left. Okay, good. So there, hopefully now, you can all find middle C. Right. Okay, so, generally, for the early stages, a lot of the pieces I tend to do up to about 10 lessons, based with your thumb, both of the children's thumbs, like that. Okay, I tend to describe it as a butterfly, just for the kids. It just looks like a butterfly, actually. It's very lovely here. You can get a nice shadow, but don't have that luxury in lessons. So you've got, yeah, the thumbs will share middle C for the early lessons, okay, and the hands won't move for all of book 1, okay. Now then, so after the first lesson, again, this is where hopefully you guys can back up some of the stuff that's taught and help it seem easier. You could sing along to that, It's about hopefully showing children that you've got some enthusiasm for music, and just showing that it's something you do as well, I guess. So you could sing along, go, Mary had a little lamb, and so on, you know the rest. That's one thing you could do. You could sing along. That would make them smile, I'm pretty sure. But, sitting by the side of your child and pointing to the notes. So yeah, as they are sitting at the piano, just get yourself a seat and just point, as I did actually at the beginning, 3, 2, 1. Some of these things you may already do anyway, but just pointing along each one. And another thing I don't think I added to the slide, which I must add after this one, this first presentation evening, is you can, I've shown some of you as well before, you can hold a book over their hands, just so that they're looking at the music. Especially for something like Mary Had a Little Lamb, where the hand doesn't move, so they've just got to get that connection from the brain to the fingers of 3, 2, 1. And actually, most children, they play better like that, I've found. But it's having the confidence. They don't believe that they can play the piano without looking. They feel that they've got to look at their hands, and then they stop looking at the music, and that's again where things start to go wrong. So yeah, do try that. See if your child can play a piece or a small section of a piece without looking. Oh, I did write it. Excellent. I'm better than I thought. I'm better than I thought. So try to cover their hands by holding another book over them. Okay, excellent. All right, the musical alphabet. Here it is. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There's nothing more. Again, it's always humorous when teaching the young ones up to about 7 and you say A, B, C, D, E, F, G. What comes next? H. But there is no H on the piano. And yeah, sometimes I do let children kind of carry on and they get all the way to Z, which is quite comical. And then I tell them, no, there's only A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, we talked about where middle C is. I'm going to try and go back now in that slide. I might have another one. Let's see if I've done the next one. No, I've got to rewind. I'm not as clever as I thought. So we go back to the diagram of the keyboard. Okay, here we just look back at this one. I can then just show you where the notes will be. So it's easiest if you start from here, C. Okay, again, this is where lots of children have difficulties, associating a letter with a note. The logical way, which is correct, is to go C, D, E, F, G. Now, if that is in your slides, you may want to make a note of that if you're not too sure of that. So from C, the next white note is a D. The next white note is an E. The next white note is an F. And then we get to G. And what comes next? Don't say H.
A.
A, yes. We'd be on A. And a stumbling point that lots of my young learners have, when they're trying to work out notes, they're brilliant at working this way. So, if I say, right, your right hand starts on D, they'll go C, D. And I'll say your left hand starts on A. A lot of them will start going backwards and they'll go C, T, E, F, G, A. And that's actually, can anyone tell me what note that is as we're doing it? Just Yeah, that's an E. That one's an E. And we know that because if we've got the two black notes here, go down one, C, D, E. Okay, so that gives us our alphabet, A, B, C, D, F, G. If we can find C on a piano, we can work out any of the white notes, okay? Right. So, I've got to fast forward again, let's fast forward. So here's our musical alphabet, and we're going to carry on from that now. So there are only 7 pure notes, okay? After that we've got sharps and flats, but we're not going to talk about that today. Let's moving on a bit further. Right, so games, okay, I'm trying to think of new things, and if you ever research any, please do let me know. But the ones I've come up with most recently, which are quite fun for the younger ones, this wouldn't be suitable for your 12, 13-year-olds, but for the younger ones, I'd say up to about 8, it's a bit of fun. Simon Says. So I get my pupils to put their thumb on middle C, and then I'll call out something like, Simon Says use right hand finger 5, so they have to do that, okay? They've got to play finger 5. And then I'll say, if they've got both hands on there, slightly more advanced ones, Simon Says use left hand finger 4. And you do a few quick ones in succession. Simon Says use finger 5, 4, 3, use finger 3, you're on. Okay, so you kind of have a little competition. It could be a nice warm up, just getting the coordination going with the right fingers. Memory game, pretty similar. You know, as a parent you say, alright, put your thumb on middle C. I'm going to call out some finger numbers, see if you can play them. I'm going to test your memory. 5, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so 5, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's an extra one, 5. Okay, so it's just another little game that I'm coming up with. Obviously, it's not the best board game in the world, so you've got to be quite inventive to kind of make a game out of an instrument. But these are some ideas to get a little warm up for the, up to 8 years old, I would say. So a quick recap up to there. Lessons 1 to 10, I generally start on middle C, thumbs together. Okay, so now you know where middle C is. You should be fine with that. As a parent, try to learn this one note, if no other, middle C. As I say, for the first 3 months or 4 months, that will probably give you enough information to help. If you know where middle C is, you can just say to your child, where's middle C? Help them find it. Hopefully, then they can remember enough from the lesson to progress. Now, danger alert. I've put a danger alert at this point. At this point, so you've got through your first 10 lessons, and hopefully there's enthusiasm. They're enjoying lessons. You might have done a concert. And I might have now said, right, we might be aiming for the prep test, which I'll just show you a copy of the book. The prep test, this book, quite a few have seen it. Some of you, I think at least one person here has got a child who's doing this term. Danger alert, because at this point things do stray away from middle C. So there's more challenges. And finding the right note to begin with is a bit tricky. So you kind of need to be, hopefully able to give a little bit of help, and obviously I've got to kind of keep reinforcing where the notes are. And also now you've got hands together, so there's all of a sudden there's a little bit more of a challenge. Sometimes children lose their confidence at this point. They think they can't do it. They think they're rubbish. So you've got, it's my responsibility to make them think otherwise. And if you can do whatever you can to also tell them they're doing well and help them, then hopefully this will be, the right path. So the prep test, just a quick outline of this. It's their first opportunity to get a certificate. I never used to use it, but now I tend to get all of my pupils under the age of 11, all my primary age and below. I tend to get all of them to do the prep test, regardless of ability or age within the primary age group from up to 11 years old. It's good for confidence. It gets them in the exam environment, so they play to an examiner, but it's not pass-fail. I don't tell them that. I do make them think that there's pressure, and I do ask parents not to say, "Oh, don't worry, you'll definitely, you can't fail," or because it's good that they start to, get a little bit of pressure, but as long as we know that they can't fail and we keep reassuring them, then I think it can only be positive. And it's great when I see the young learners come out with certificates straight away. They really think they've done well, and they have. So, Boating Lake, this is one of my prep test pieces. Lots of you would have heard it at the concert, so I'll give you a fast forward play through. This is what is expected at the prep test level. Okay, that's your prep test level of playing. I mean, obviously I played it quite fast and obviously confidently. They don't have to play it quite so well as that. But when your child starts looking at this, look at this. This is a mess. It's horrible. Any of you, I don't know if anyone is actually a teacher, but I do know one or two of you work in education. You know, if you score this in your child's book as a teacher, you know, teacher's writing, it's not the sort of modern day easy to follow stuff. So, you know, above these notes here, I've written numbers. So 1 and 3. 1 and 3, when there's two numbers together, what does that mean? Could someone tell me? If you have a guess from what I've taught you about the finger numbers. Here we've got a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 3. Anyone brave enough? Yeah, go on.
Pause. To press pause.
Yeah, both at the same time.
1 and 3.
Yeah, 1 and 3. On your hands now, again, if you play your imaginary piano on your left hand, so unless you're right-handed, left hand, swap it round, but just to get a little coordination exercise, try and play 1 and 3 at the same time. Now 2 and 4, which is either side of your middle finger, and now 3 and 5.
Ooh.
And back to 2 and 4. 2 and 4 we want now, so the middle finger should be sticking up in the air. And now I've lost where we're going, so let's go to 1 and 3, back to 1 and 3. Yeah, this is you know, quite tricky to coordinate two things at the same time. So 2 and 4, 3 and 5, and for a more advanced musician, no one actually I'm teaching at the moment is at this point, but a nice exercise is to just doing that with your right hand. 1 and 3, 2 and 4, 3 and 5, 2 and 4. So, we know then that that's two notes at the same time. I've written here, this does not start at middle C, but I've written thumb on G, and I've written thumb on D. Now, the top line, we will come to this once again in a little while, is your right hand, and the bottom line is your left hand, okay? So you've got, and together, this piece is 3 lines of music. Again, a common children's mistake. If I say how many lines of music have we got to play, they will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not 6 lines, it's 3. And the piano, generally, you've got this nice bracket which shows you that that is 1 line. And yeah, so we've got our starting position, and then hopefully this piece, the hands don't move. So if you do have your thumb on G and you do have your thumb on D, if you then direct your child, or you play yourself this piece, and you play these finger numbers, you will get the piece to sound as it should. Okay? Just a quick side point. When I teach, generally, I'm not too focused on the notes for beginners. So some teachers may teach, this is a G, this is a B, this is a C, this is a D. I will teach that eventually, and they have to know that at grade 1. But I don't tend to do it too soon. I want children to be playing and not too bogged down with theory, and because it takes time to explain that when you've got a note here, this is middle C, 1 line above. Actually, incidentally, that is middle C. Okay, that's how it looks on the music. Let's carry on. So, beyond the prep test, which for some of you will be quite a way into the future, for some of you it's already there. Learning the notes on the stage does become important. Okay, so I think hopefully if I'm organised, I've got a quick little diagram now of learning the stage. Now, we've got 2 signs here. Does anyone know the names of either of these? So, who knows the names? Be brave, come on. Go on. Oh, not which hand, what are the names of these signs? So we've got this curly one, well they're both curved actually. Does anyone know the name of it? This one's the bass clef, yeah, and Not staccato, no. There is another clef. They're both called clefs. That was the bass clef. And treble clef, yeah, thank you. So we've got treble clef, bass clef. And what that tells us is it tells us what note to play as and when we see some notes on these lines. Now, what clef are we looking at? Just a quick recap. Sorry to bombard you with questions, but I need to know the...
Bass.
We're not looking at the bass. No, please do call out, yeah, treble. We're looking at the treble clef, which for beginners generally is your right hand. Generally. This sign does not mean right hand, but most beginner pieces are written for the right hand in the treble clef and the left hand in the bass clef. So, our treble clef, we've got this nice saying, face in the spaces. Okay? Face in the spaces, faces in the spaces, face, whatever you do, and you know, then you can know that if your son or daughter has got a piece that starts with a note here and it's got a number 1 up there, then you know they're starting on an F, and if there's a number 1 above it, you know they've got to use their thumb. Okay? So yes, that gives us our spaces. We'll carry on. Now then, so we're now looking at the lines. Before we just looked at the spaces, we've got 4 spaces and 5 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now for the lines, these are our notes. They'll look like this. And I've got a green bus here. I have done some cheesy animations. Every green bus drives fast. So we've got a little mnemonic to remember the notes of the treble clef on the lines. Okay? Some people know it as every good boy deserves football. There's other variations, but as long as you know one of these you remember, and therefore E associates to the first line. Every good G, bus B, drives the fast F. Okay, so every good boy, every green bus drives fast. Okay, that's our treble clef. Don't worry about remembering this. If you've got a diagram, you can always look at it. You don't need to know this just like that. You can go and look it up. You can Google it. If this ends up in recycling, you can always Google it. There's numerous ways you can find this stuff out. And we're looking now at the bass clef and the spaces. So for this one, another little saying, which is helpful. I don't tend to teach this for about 6 months or a bit longer, depending on the pupil. All cows eat grass. Okay. Generally, I want my pupils to know the treble clef securely, and then I introduce them and hope to get them to know the bass clef securely. So that the right hand they need to master, I think, before the left. For most children, unless they're left-handed, then it might be the other way around. So yeah, all cows eat grass. A, C, E, G. I don't tend to teach another saying for the lines. There is one. I'm not even going to say it because I don't tend to teach it. Simply because I think by the time you've got face in the spaces, you've got every green bus drives fast, you've got all cows eat grass. Already, quite a lot of children will start to muddle them, and they will use this for the right hand. So they'll forget that that's the bass clef. So I don't teach another one. What I do teach is that if this is an A, and if I have a note here on the line, what would it be? Obviously, it comes between